we have a major story to discuss today, coming from Post Wrestling. Shout out to those guys. They have uncovered documents that noted that Tony Khan was a mystery fourth bidder in the sale of WWE. So, in so many words, Tony Khan tried to buy WWE in 2023. Before it was sold to Endeavor, Vince McMahon had so many people, trying to get this thing. And I think it's interesting that Tony Khan put his name in there. And had that been successful, you would have WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor under his banner, essentially. And the pro wrestling world would have walked back into a monopoly, as well as the collective psychotic meltdown that would have occurred from, the online WWE fan army. I would imagine that they now would be reporting to Tony Khan. I just find that funny. But yeah, man, let's talk about it. So the sale, which is still kind of getting fought over in different court cases and things like that. The way it was sold to Endeavor to form TKO is always, kind of some, kind of just backroom dealings, side deals that no one really discusses, context that people don't typically put these things in. So, Vince McMahon got the whole deal with Janelle Grant and that lawsuit. And, he ended up doing that first step down in 2022, came back at the end with the intention to sell the company. But, Vince was going to sell, cash out, still stay in control. Honestly, not too unlike many, sports owners of teams nowadays. Los Angeles Lakers, for example, they sold, the franchise from the Buss family to Mark Walter of the Dodgers with the little key that Genie could stay on, essentially. This almost happened in the sale of the Boston Celtics, but they didn't have it in writing, whoever the second owner would have been, and who the primary owner essentially was like, whoop, you didn't have anything that said that. And the guy's trying to sue them for all that now. But the whole sale process to Endeavor was a sham to begin with. Vince basically sniffed out a deal ahead of time and was like, hey, let's go ahead and ensure that I can come back and I still hold all these voting shares. And then we will make the deal to sell you the company. You will form TKO. I will essentially come back and then, ride off in the sunset. And then even more stuff actually ended up dropping. And that's what ended up getting them out the paint for good. We're going to take a look at this right here. So Tony Khan bid for WWE in 2023 sale process, ultimately won by Endeavor to create TKO. That's crazy. Thinking about Tony there, tons of money, can do what he wants. I would imagine he would have loved to own WWE, own the footage, the archives, basically, the infrastructure, everything, own the business. And I think the other side of that was, even if he couldn't own it, right, cause chaos, cause confusion by putting in a ridiculous bid that obviously would be ridiculous to turn down. And then if it still turned down anyway, you can kind of tell what is, someone's true intentions. This is a actual negotiating tactic that has happened for Tony Khan in lesser situations than buying a company. I'm talking like individual, talents. This is the Tony Khan playbook on some of that stuff. So they basically said, there was an original complaint filed in the Delaware Chicanery Court in November 2023. This has been redacted or unredacted, excuse me. So the other people trying to get in on this were Endeavor, Formula One parent company Liberty Media, and private equity firm KKR. So publicly, they say Liberty and KKR were understood to have made offers based on prior reportings and public filings, but This here confirms both their participation in which bid prices correspond to each. Khan's base 10 bid, however, is public for the first time. So in that lawsuit that I was referencing, the plaintiff's shareholder, they alleged that the merger process was unfair and that Endeavor was pre-selected by McMahon because Endeavor's lead executive, Ari Emanuel, assured McMahon's future with the company. The defendants deny that allegation. So in some of those situations that I referenced where the Lakers were selling, the Celtics were selling, they were kind of selling on their own free will. It wasn't like they were being pushed out to sell. It wasn't like they were being, they were on trial or anything, or they had some incentive to want to take back the throne. So Vince's incentives are a little different. The only thing you could kind of say is for the Lakers, their home television deal was kind of ending, and the Buss family was known to be kind of a poorer owner, and then ultimately it was kind of time to cash out for them. That's not the case with Vince. So it says, although Tony Khan is mentioned by name in the complaint, Base 10 and All Elite Wrestling are, and their connection is made clear. The filing states Base 10 is the owner of All Elite Wrestling, a professional wrestling promotion that would plainly enjoy significant synergies with WWE. It's an insane thought exercise. Think about all the talents that you would be able to have access to, and then begin mixing amongst the promotions. The television deals, like think about the Netflix deal that came in this. They were still with Peacock at that time. Nick Khan is involved in all of this. Like, where would he, be nowadays had this gone through? You can maybe talk about the CM Punk and the Elite situation where these people would have all ended up. People's deals that were up around that time. What does that look like? Because there could have been major changes going on in wrestling, spring 2023, before it all hit at Wembley Stadium. Now, going forward, you can see some more of the evidence here. Like, if you want to check the Post site, I would definitely recommend that on this. So it said basically, further public records unrelated to the lawsuit independently confirm Khan's connection to Base 10. Florida business records show that Base 10 Inc. was incorporated in 2014, listing Khan as its sole officer. Talked about his sports analytics deal. Tony has not provided a statement on this. Imagine where would Triple H be right now? Would he be someone that has a faction somewhere, as an on-screen talent? Is he involved in wrestling at all anymore? So it says by a considerable margin that Base 10's bid price was the lowest of the four. So Tony Khan's company offered $76.83 per share. KKR offered between $90 and $97.50 per share. Liberty was $95 to $100. Those are offers that would have converted WWE shares to cash. Meanwhile, Endeavor's winning bid was an all-stock deal valued at $95.66 per share before synergies. So instead of cash, WWE investors simply converted the same number of TKO shares when the deal closed. 3 years later, TKO's share price trades at about $200 of this writing, essentially doubling the bid prices of 2023. So Post ended up being nice and doing the math for us. So Base 10, it looks like $6.9 billion, KKR $8 billion to $8.7, $8.5 billion to $8.9 billion, $8.5 for Endeavor. So Base 10 far underneath, but I think when you throw your hat in the mix, you basically set yourself up to be eligible should something not go right with a Liberty Media, should something had fallen through with Endeavor. You see all of these different companies not have something in writing, and people fall out of things, just like I mentioned for that Celtics thing. So this is wild. Liberty and KKR probably should have had a better shot at getting this thing, is what that lawsuit is ultimately alleging. And you look at Tony's role in there, it looks like he was kind of just shit stirring. So I don't know, man. That's an insane proposition to think about. The fact that WWE could have been, had things gone that far away from, your Liberty or your KKR into, a Tony Khan thing, and then you think about the industry around it, and it's an insane proposition. Just tons of older wrestlers eating crow, tons of, just people having to essentially, get in line. You think about the staff that's around WWE, like their board of directors would all get reshuffled. You would probably have to also talk about the public and private aspect of AEW at that point. You would talk about where in how much wrestling would be aired. Would WWE continue to operate on its own? On a USA Network at the time. You have WBD and their mergers. These are all wild scenarios, and they all go each direction. Like, you start talking about the wrestlers are one aspect, the television deals are another aspect, the media partnerships are another, the inner workings of the staffs at each company is a whole nother thing. Keep in mind, they still have NXT to figure out at that point too. They would also have the deals that were made for Evolve, and then later like CW with Tubi and all that. That is like, that's an insane thing to think about. And I feel like, the health of the wrestling business is dependent on many companies coming together and doing like their own individual things. A wrestling world almost completely united under any one person, I don't care who it is not the answer, because it takes away choice from the wrestlers, it takes away choice from the fans, and it also would take away choice of the people that make the wrestling happen behind the scenes on an even smaller level. Like, you got production staffs, you have, musicians, you have everything. And these different entities existing allow people to continue to earn and make the best deals for themselves and make the environments more competitive. Now, like I said, all-time funny to think Tony Khan could have bought WWE. Just how the aggressive nature of WWE, kind of towards AEW with the counter programming efforts. I'm talking about. I'm not really talking about them taking shots at each other on air. That stuff's regular pro wrestling. But as far as the counter programming your pay-per-views and stuff like that, that's a whole another thing. And going very hard after your talent while they're under contract. Like, these are the things that WWE is shown that's kind of their playbook. But yeah, what did you guys think about what do you think the reality would be different about our reality today had Tony Khan bought WWE in 2023? I look forward to hearing, your takes and answers on that in the comment section. Peace.
P-Dub in the house. Go and hit that like button on your way out. Leave a few words and I'll holler back soon. Till we meet again, reach the stars and the moon. Woo!